Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing great. We're gonna talk about home improvement. We're gonna talk about Home Depot. We're gonna talk about why is this shadow in my face? It's gonna be awkward. That's okay, the lighting's off, it doesn't matter. And you're saying, Ninja, why are we talking about Home Depot? They just missed revenue. I know, I get it. Oh, you mean, why are we in Lowe's parking lot? Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second. And also, you're probably gonna ask, why is the image reversed? Well, that's because I'm a narcissist and I like to look at myself in the camera. Jeez-o. All right, guys, let's talk about the story. This is out of CNBC. It is entitled Home Depot Misses Revenue Expectations for the First Time Since 2019. Now, before I start the story, let me explain. In 2018 and 2019, the economy was actually in a really bad situation. It wasn't in the news unless you were really into investing, really into the business aspect, the business media. You really wouldn't have known it. But quite frankly, by the end of 2019, banks were imploding. They were scared to death. The Federal Reserve had to race in literally in September of 2019 and open the Fed repo window. And that is a very big deal to support the banking system, all right? So from 2018 is when I sold my house to buy Bitcoin and silver, long story short, did okay. Point being is that I did it because the economy was contracting, all right? And they needed something to juice the markets. Wonder what they did there. All right, so right now, we're seeing Home Depot's revenues being missed since the first time of 2019. So it's a very important time marker, all right, to show you where you're at. We're seeing a lot of data coming out or news stories saying we haven't seen these numbers since 2010, which is bad because that was at the bottom of the recession, right, of the Great Recession. Now we're also starting to see revenue misses since not seen since 2019. Okay, you know, Home Depot and this place has seen a boom in business ever since the nation was shut down, right? Why? Because people had time to finally fix that broken fence because you couldn't find any fencing parts and all kinds of other things around their house, right? So they've had absolute boom years, but pretty soon you're about to see these guys and their other competition start to really have some issues. So let's talk about that. It says Home Depot's revenue fell short of Wall Street's estimates in its fiscal fourth quarter earnings report Tuesday amid a slowdown in the home improvement category. The company also provided a muted outlook for the next year because of a tougher consumer backdrop. Here's what Home Depot posted compared with what Wall Street was anticipating based on a survey of analysts by Refinitiv. Guys, real quick before I tell you this, again, remember the theme of this year and last year, but for sure this year, will be continued disappointment from the guys and gals that went to college to become economists. The people that are legally allowed to give you advice on where the economy's going are always wrong. It sounds crazy, but you can always prove this also through revisions. When they say one thing and they put out numbers on the economy, and then they come around a month or two, maybe 3 months later and revise the numbers. Don't tell anybody, but we messed up. That's the common theme, okay? Very few people understand economic cycles, both real estate, stock, even currencies. And we're hitting all those great cycles right now. This is super exciting. It says right here, this is what they're expecting. Earnings per share of $3.30 versus what came in, earnings per share was $3.30 versus $3.28 expected. So you're like, well, Ninja, that's good. Revenue, $35.83 billion versus $35.97 billion expected. So a little drop on the revenue. And you're like, well, Ninja, those are pennies. We don't care about that. Here's the point. We're seeing the miss, all right? That's the sign. When we're talking about a cycle, everything's like going great, and then boom, down. Where Jim Cramer is screaming and yelling, you have no idea, and he can't find the buy, he's hitting the sell. It doesn't happen like that. These things crescendo, they plateau, and then they slowly start to wane. Remember that analogy I give about the roller coaster that's halfway on the downhill side, halfway on the uphill side. It's balanced. The people on the backside can't see, oh my gosh, sudden death. And all the people in front are going, we're screwed. But they're actually not, because they're first to the party and they get to take advantage of it. It says right here, it's the first time Home Depot missed Wall Street's revenue expectations since November of 2019. Let me explain what's going on. Now, there were revenue misses before November 2019, before that, all right? That was the last time they missed because the world shut down a couple months later. They got to enjoy the boom of people coming in and getting all those building supplies, right? All right. Says in the quarter ended January 29th, Home Depot reported $35.83 billion in sales, which were up 0.3% from a year ago, but which saw $35.72 billion in revenue. The retailer reported net income of $3.36 billion or $3.36%. Yeah, I'm not going to even bug you with those numbers. Numbers. Amid record levels of inflation, a shift in consumer behavior and housing market slowdown, the home improvement retailer has repeatedly beat the street's expectations over last year, but fell a bit short in sales estimates. Guys, the point being is that this is now the top. We're now coming down. 2023, you're going to see abysmal numbers in Home Depot. Why? Because inflation's insane. Margins are getting squeezed by the companies that are providing materials, products and materials to these improvement stores. And what they're going to do is they have to raise their prices. Okay, the consumer's not going to pay these highly inflated prices. We've seen that now with the car sales. So you're going to see in 2023 added weakness in this sector. I did a video, I touched on this in the real estate crash course, and it's going to get better, all right? There are going to be more and more deals out there. Now it says the company attributed that solely to a drop in lumber cost. Think about that. Remember, demand is down. Building demand is waning. Home builder sentiment is crashing. Even though you saw a little uptick in January, that doesn't mean anything. That was hopium that was getting pushed out into the internet, out into the world, because they're saying, hey, mortgage just dropped a little bit. I mean, we're talking a little bit. Now they're right back up, and they're going to go even higher. Okay, so that was hopium that came in. So lumber costs, that's what they said. This is the only reason we are dropping is because lumber costs. That means demand's crashing. That's really exciting. This is the beginning of that downward trajectory. You've got lots of time to prepare for what's coming, to get ready for the advantage of all these smoking sales everywhere, deals on real estate. But the problem is, if you don't start soon, you'll only be ready this much. Where I want you guys to be ready this much, all right? It says, but for what? It says right here, slowly on lumber drops due to nationwide shortages in fiscal 2021, but are now down 50% year over year. Here's a quote. After 2 years of high volatility, we've seen a little bit more stability in recent weeks and months, but it's hard to predict lumber prices. You know, it's actually not. Yes, in the short term, lumber prices spike and they drop, right? They based on the futures and supply and demand. But on the long term, you can easily predict. It's like me saying, you know, over the long term, real estate always goes up, always goes up. Yeah, it's true. Over the long term, we're talking 10 years, or actually, let's go longer than that, 30 years. You're guaranteed to make money on real estate. Why? Because the destruction of the purchasing power of a currency and normal inflation. Inflation only comes because your currency is being destroyed because it keeps getting printed. They keep making more in the form of debt or actual paper notes, right? So that's a guarantee over the long term. But I want you to understand the short-term movements and buy and sell inside of those and make money. It's actually quite easy, but you have to have a solid plan. You've got to be, your finances prepared, and then you've got to have conviction because of a knowledge basis that you've got. You need that. That's actual life advice. You need to have the knowledge. You can't go by some guru or even me on the internet and say, oh, the ninja says housing's crashing, so I'm gonna go out and buy one. That doesn't mean today's the day. You have to have that fundamental basis of knowledge and understanding to be able to weather these cycles and then go crush it, right? We're nowhere near the bottom on real estate. You're gonna see even better prices, right? And so, oh, and by the way, anybody about the course, I did just upload, I think 4 new videos, and we're almost done. I think we have one week, maybe 1.5 weeks until the price goes up for the real estate side hustle. Or I just put 2 courses together, the real estate crash course. Point being is this: if you're investing in companies like this, you want to be aware that demand is starting to wane, their numbers are starting to slip, and that's something that you should be aware of. That's not financial advice or investment advice, that's life advice. You want to always be aware of the bullet points that make up the confidence or lack of confidence in the companies you're investing in, right? So to me, I look at where is the general theme of the economy going. And I gotta be honest with you, right now, I think it's headed towards the dumps. All right, guys, that being said, I thank you so much for watching. The Economic Ninja is out.